There are three questions for President Lagos and Minister Yeo. First, relating to our dependence on the US economy. Second, the rise of protectionism within APEC. And third, the need for building trust, which seems to lie at the heart of our inability to arrive at lasting regional solutions. President Lagos, quick response, and then Minister Yeo.
The single most important relationship in the Asia-Pacific is the Sino-US relationship. And I would argue that it is the single most important relationship in the world today. They have become very interdependent. And there's a mixing of the economies, of companies, even of families, toing and froing, and a great deal of mutual interdependence. There's a strategic dialogue between them now. The leaders meet regularly. There will be tensions from time to time. As the Chinese put it, relations with the US can never be very good, but neither will it be very bad, because the consequences of it being very bad will be horrendous for both sides. This is why an organization like APEC is so important. My mind goes back to April 2001, the Hainan spy plane incident, when for a few weeks relations between the US and China became very tense. It was the new US administration which decided that China was not a strategic partner but a strategic competitor, and a standoff. Before it was solved, President Jiang Zemin decided to visit Chile. And I remember he was in Chile, he gave a speech in Spanish, all the time communicating to the world China's position. The first meeting that the two sides had was in Shanghai during the APEC MRT. I was trade minister and attended that meeting. My old friend Bob Zelig, US trade representative, was the first US cabinet secretary to be in China after the incident. He was tense. The Chinese trade minister, Xu Guangsheng, he told me, I don't know this person, in an almost hostile way. But fortunately, Bob Zelig said nice things. I told him, I said, look, you'll be immediately reported to Beijing. He laughed at me. He didn't think so. I said, it would be. The following day, Minister Xu demeanor changed. Things softened, and because of an opportunity for contact, a problem was contained. Then September 11 happened. By October, when Bush went to Shanghai, it was a dramatic 180-degree reversal of positions. This time, Chinese fighter aeroplanes scrambled to escort Air Force One into Shanghai. The importance of having organizations which create a habit of meeting and consultation, developing trust between great powers. That's the role of APEC, which is why it is of utmost importance to all of us to keep it going. The other very important relationship for us in Asia is between the two rising powers, China and India, long separated by the high Himalayas. In '62, the Chinese gave the Indians a bloody nose over the border problem. And to today, the Indians still resent that war deeply. They may not say very much about it, but in their hearts, the scar is still there. And if the relationship between these two behemoths are not well managed in the coming years, there'll be new tensions for all of us. It's like when both Hu Jintao and Bush come to Australia. You watch how the Australian government, with great finesse and artistry, balance the two visits so that both are presented with grace, with equal attention, and equipoise is achieved. If there's a rupture between China and the US, all of us will be torn in between. If there is bad relations between China and India, many of us will also find it very unpleasant. And it is for this reason that the ASEAN countries have decided to create another organization to bring China and India together, which is the East Asia Summit. ASEAN plus Australia and New Zealand, with Northeast Asian countries and India. And just as APEC helps to keep the US and China together, the EAS will help to keep China and India together.
Thank you, Minister Yeo. Professor Han, do you want to make a quick...
Thank you very much, Dado. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for a very informative panel discussion. When we look at this section today, it talks about, can the Asia-Pacific meet the challenge ahead? And if we look at what President Lagos said, he talked about these are very good times. Well, each one of you have a country that represents something, and it's called a national sovereign fund. There's somewhere between $500 and $600 billion US in funds sitting on the panel today. What do you see the roles of those sovereign funds when it comes down to investment in the Asia-Pacific region? And probably most important, should those sovereign funds be sacrosanct and not touched and left for the future of the next generation? Your comments, please.
I'd like to invite one member of the panel to volunteer to respond to this question. President Lagos? Professor Morgan?
Can you repeat the question?
Can you shorten the question?
We're asking a lot of Professor. President Lagos, a sovereign fund. Codelco, China has a sovereign fund, Temasek, Singapore. What do you see the importance of the role of sovereign funds in the Asia-Pacific region when it comes down to investments? And should those sovereign funds be protected for the future of the next generation, or should they maybe be used maybe for climate change or other today's issues?
Well, it seems to me that in the case I propose, it's very important. Those funds are coming from where? From natural resources? Then, if it is possible, if that funds that are coming from natural resources, are you going to be used to some other things like ordinary expenses in any fiscal year, in any budget of any country? I don't think that this is the right
mention. If national funds are no more than pension funds, husbanding precious savings for the future, then they should be treated like pension funds, which are good for the economy because they recycle savings into the most productive uses. The fear is, I think the fear is centered on China's sovereign funds, is when funds are used for political purposes, for leverage, then there will be a concern that, or in that case, we may need a political response to a political measure. So in the case of China, Ms. Wang is here. I don't know whether she wants to add or subtract from what I have to say. If those funds established in China are no different from let us say, CalPERS, then it is a boon to the world. But if they are politicized and used for other than financial purposes, then there's bound to be cause for regulation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do suffer from the tyranny of the clock.